Hello guys, I'm HP and this is Dr. Pink, and today's topic is a high energy red rock lead guitar, and I'm referring to a tutorial which I did a few days ago, high octane red rock guitar riff, and a few of you guys were asking for a tutorial about the lead guitar on this specific track because it's really cool. I produced it, by the way. It's made for sync. Already sent it to the agencies. And here we're going to talk about this and give you some ideas and concepts how you put high energy stuff, controlled stuff into really, no, I'll show you. Music are better than words, you know. The trick is to get this high energy vibe into your rock guitar soloing. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, you know. Yeah, it's stuff like that. And you might think, wow, that's too heavy for me because it's too fast or however, but it's honestly, it's not about that when it comes to music. It's about which energy you want to put into in a piece of music, and you can make this having a lot of energy with putting in the right vibe, the red vibe, as you can see. And I'm going to teach you some concepts which will help you here. Also, if you want to play fast stuff, the main topic when you want to play fast stuff, never lose the balance. So you have to always stay in this vibe of the high energy thing to never lose the balance. And there are a few things to know, but of course you also need to know a few things, and this I'm going to show you first. Before you can fly, you first need to learn to walk, so you need to have your things a little bit together. First I'm going to talk about this and then give you some more tips how to stay in the zone, in the guitar zone, in the red guitar zone to create this awesome stuff. So let's get started. So, first thing to know, which sound are we using here? When it comes to high energy rock guitar stuff, lead guitar stuff, I tend to use Soldano amp settings. Why? Because they have this, you know, this high. As you can hear, they have these really high frequencies. We swing above everything else, which really sit really nice into the mix here. I can show you. I mean, when you listen to the sound alone, you think it sounds terrible, or it's, in this case, too over compressed, but no. When you put it in the sound, it's gonna sound awesome. And so on. So if you have the opportunity to select different sounds, select a Soldano amp, or what also works is USA amps, you know, any stuff of that, with maximum gain, compression, a lot of delay. Where is it? Oh, I already switched it off. Here, it's a lot of delay. You think it's too much, but in the sound, you're going to sound awesome. And now we're going to learn first the specs you need to know about the whole thing here. As I said, before you can fly, you need to learn to walk. And now we learn to walk, and then I'll show the tricks how to fly to get into the red zone with a lot of energy, with power and a lot of oomph. Yo, it got really hot, so I put off my hoodie here. Oh, it's always heating up here in the studio. So now we're going to check out the tune itself. because it is really useful and very helpful if you know what you're playing to, you know what the chord progressions you're playing to, because when you want to go over the whole thing with just pentatonics, which of course works, you miss out like 60% of the opportunities to give more energy into stuff. So you don't have to play fast, which many of you guys probably think, but you need to stay in the zone and know where you are. So what is the chord progression here? It's really simple. E minor. E minor to C. Here's the volume of C to D to A minor. So 4 chords. So the basic key is E minor. So we have the E minor. The E minor scale. And I really strongly recommend, even if you're still an intermediate player, technical, not so developed, start to work on your 3-note per string scales, because they'll help you a lot with the orientation and with the flexibility. So I'm using this mode here, this position. You can also take the regular one. It's up to you, but I strongly recommend using 3-note per string modes. So E minor, also figure out the E minor arpeggio. That will be this one here. You don't need to play it fast, but you need to know where the notes are. That's the main reason to learn arpeggios. Of course, if you can play them fast, it's cool, but that's not the point. Learn them because you have 2 grids you're working in. You're working in the modes and the arpeggios. So E minor. Next chord is a C. So C would be, or this one here. You can take the regular C chord. So all these notes are chord notes. Now you can adapt it to the mode you already learned, or better would be to also learn the mode of the chord itself. That will be C Lydian. That will be this one here. Again, 3-note per string. I'm gonna write down the whole stuff for you. If it's too fast, don't worry. You can download the tabs as Guitar Pro and all the stuff, plus the backing tracks in the HPCrazy Guitar Academy. So, but I'm speeding up things that we go and get into the more interesting stuff. So C Lydian on this. Then we have D. You could take this chord as a reference, or this chord as a reference. In this case, we take this one here. Somehow it's more handy. We have the D major arpeggio. It's this one here. Or D mixolydian. This will be this one here, as already mentioned. 3-note per string. And the last chord is A minor. We're taking this one as a reference. It's the bar in the 5th, and you know that one, the arpeggio. Or this one. But I prefer this one here. And we're taking a Dorian. Also 3-note per string. By the way, while learning a 3-note per string scales, you only need to know 2 basic patterns, because then you cover up the whole fretboard. I'll give you a small example. Taking the first one, E minor. So you cover E minor from here till here together with the arpeggio. Now if you take the other position, this one here, E minor here, you're covering from here till here. And wow, what comes here again? The E. So it comes again the other position. And that's basically the trick. You cover up the entire fretboard with only learning 2 positions, and if you know the positions, you can quickly switch between Aeolian to Dorian, because it's only, you can take this as an example, A minor Dorian, as we just learned. This one here. If you just change one note, this one here, then you suddenly have Aeolian. But the positions is more or less still the same, just one note to change. Yeah, just there's a course in the Academy where you can learn all this stuff in detail. Check it out. I don't remember the name, you'll find it. Anyhow, so this is now the tools which you're working in. This sounds really complicated, but this is not about playing fast, it's about getting a mindset that you stay in the zone. You always need to stay in balance. Where am I playing, which chord? And then you start to follow the chords. I'll give you an example. So, we're starting here with E minor, C, D, A minor. That didn't sound really hard to play, but that's what I really strongly recommend to all you guys out there. Before learning to play fast, learn to stay in the grid, because that's what makes the big difference. This stuff was not hard to play, but while I was playing, I always was aware this was the triad of the E, this was the triad of the C, this was the triad of the D, and this was the fifth of the A minor. Even I was just playing 4 notes, the whole information was still going on. And that is what makes it really cool. So let's take this little figure. We just play this little figure, add some delay, and then we play a little bit around and give it some red oomph energy, you know, and then you already start to sound great. Now we're pushing up the energy, still playing the same stuff, so let's go and see what happens. See how simple this works. I was just following the chords, and then just put in my licks which I can play. Then you can play your licks. I'm not totally against licks, but if you're bound to only playing licks, you will never get in the zone. Because to get in the zone, you need to go in with your emotions in the soloing and really feel it. And you know, what was the lick I was playing? I would jump. That was the lick. And then just pull off from out there. That was this lick here. But now comes the trick. How you make this lick sound high energy. Let's put on the Soldano amp, which is a really dirty sound. You make sounds terrible like this, doesn't it? I just hit in the empty strings, give a lot of oomph, and but now let's listen to it in the sound. It wasn't really disturbing, wasn't it? And that's what I really want to teach you guys. It's if you know this stuff happens because you're going in it with a lot of energy and, you know, with this high octave feel, and then these things just happen automatically. And then, but you still have to stay in balance, you know where you are, and then you can play out of this. That's the main thing, how it works. If you want to start to sound great, just with the little things. Let's do this now. Playing around these notes, giving the lick, then probably take other notes. Let's give a second set of notes which can work. Let's do this here. No, that doesn't sound nice. We still stay on this. So what we're doing now, this is the 5th of the E minor, this is the 5th of the C, the 5th of the D, and the 5th of the A. So we're starting with the first figure, add a lick, then we go to the second figure and give some more energy into it. Let's do this. I'll show you. It's really not so hard to do. Okay, I made a little changement. I took the high 5th of the A minor, sorry. I took the high one because that's leading me to the high position and open up the whole field to give it in now and really get the whole thing running. And by the way, we already filled like 1.5 minutes with literally doing nothing. You know, we play one lick, followed the notes a little bit, put in the really red vibe into it, you know, this oomph. And how do you do that? First of all, with different sound settings, I started with a medium distortion on the neck pickup, then gave them some more extra with pinch harmonics. Switch to the bridge pickup, gives a little more oomph, and then when the power jumps in, then you go to the high gain setting and give even more harmonics. Even you're playing the same stuff all over again. Of course, what I did playing around the notes, what you can do if you, let's go back to the blues thing here. So you have these key notes. I call them the key notes. Here, from here to here. So you use the scale to move from one note to the other. So you play a little bit around the notes, but you always have this grid where you're working within. And that's the main thing, as I already mentioned at the beginning, to learn arpeggios and learn the modes. Because this stuff has to go like this, you know. You should not think about this anymore. It has to be here. And before even thinking about playing fast, if you cannot do this, it has no sense, you know. Because you always have to stay in balance, know where you are, where you want to go. Because if you play fast and you don't know where you want to go, if you miss the run, you miss the whole thing. I mean, and that's the thing. And then we come to the last thing. When you want to do runs, I don't know, honestly. They come when they come. So you need to prepare a few runs, and the most convenient run to do is, of course, in this case, 6 tall runs. So you need to have your runs prepared. And also think about storing, when you practice them, try to practice them with giving them a vibe, in this case red. How you want, you don't just not only play it, because when you play the run, you always need to keep in mind that the last note is the most important note, because that's where you want to go and where the climax of a run is. So you need to work towards this one note and keep it going, and within all this stuff you still need to stay in the zone, and the whole grid was talking about still has to be present, otherwise it will not work. I can talk from my own experience because I tried and it doesn't work. The best thing is to stay in the zone. So let's do this now. I hope I can do it at the right spot. If you want to do it, if you try to do this stuff like on purpose, it doesn't work. You have to be in the zone and feel when is the right moment for a run. Yeah, see, that was a really good example. I was thinking now, I'm doing the video now, the run has to come now. And when you think it has to come now, it doesn't work. You have to feel the right. Try once again. You need to feel when it comes. Now it worked. Yeah, of course, because I already practiced a bit before, but that's how the whole thing works. But if you focus only on playing fast, the whole thing before, that would just made the last part of the whole thing. We are now literally at the end of the 1.5 minutes. It's more important that the building up works, and you don't need the run to sound great, honestly. It can also be enough to just jump in this. That could be enough, It's a run is not needed. It's cool, of course, cool to have, but if the basics, if your basics are not working, the run will, you don't have the foundation. Then you're just out in the nowhere, and you finish the run. Where to go? That's, you always have to stay in balance. So that was it now. As I already said, I'm not a lick player. I don't really like licks. I try to teach all my students to learn to express their own feelings and to stay in the zone. And there you need to turn around the priorities in your playing. Most players just think I have to play fast licks and that's it, and the rest will follow. But that's the wrong perception. You first need to learn to walk before you can fly. Learning to walk is learn the tune, learn the chords. Figure out the notes which you can play, and then try to, while you're playing the tune, to stay in the zone. That's how the whole thing works. And then if you can do that, you already will sound great. If you can play 1 or 2 licks really fast and you don't know where you are, you can record yourself if you don't believe me. Then it will probably sound good for 10 seconds if you hit your lick perfect, but then the rest is not working. That's what I'm trying to say. You need to switch the perception. First learn to walk before you can fly. The runs will be the flying, but you also first need to figure out the runs before you can just put them in like this, And then when you're going to, you're on stage or you play with your band or you're with your buddies, then you don't have time to think about this. Learn to give an emotional connection to what you're doing, and learn to get emotional expressions. And as I said, colors. Red is a really an energetic color. Give energy, in this case, into what you're doing. Whatever sound you're having. You can also, with this sound, which is not appropriate for this tune, try to give it as much energy as possible. And then the task is fulfilled. Good, I was talking a lot now. The best thing you try yourself. I will write down the walking part for you, so the modes plus the arpeggios plus these two figures following the chords for you guys as Guitar Pro. Is a Guitar Profile or PDF, whatever you want. And it's going to be available for you guys in the HPCrazy Guitar Academy, plus this cool backing track. And if you want to learn this cool riff, it's also available here on the channel, also in the Academy. You can do whatever you want. And please let me know how it's going on for you guys with the improvisation. I'm really curious how you manage to get into the zone, Yeah, I can talk a lot, but the point is how you guys pick it up. Let me know how you feel about this, and if you feel the difference between playing in the zone or not in the zone. That's really a big difference. Good. That's all for the moment. If you love my channel, please subscribe. Please share to the world that me and Dr. Pink are existing. And please support the work which we're doing with a premium membership, even if you're not a regular user of the Academy, because this helps to keep the whole thing growing and working. See you guys.